Okay, so in this one, I'll try to demonstrate how to set up the service and the front end separately. So basically, I'll set up two projects. So the first one, I will do it as a .NET Core web app. Okay, we'll call this .NET Report Backend API. Next, .NET 8 is fine. Create it. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and install the .NET Report NuGet package. Okay, it gives me these instructions. I'll quickly follow it. So, as it installs everything as a reference, all you have to do is paste this in there once and build. Okay, then this doesn't stay a reference anymore. Okay, now since this one is just going to be the controller or the backend service, I'm not going to do the front end steps. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and delete these, and I'm also going to delete the views folder. Well, I can leave it, but I mean, I don't need to use it. Okay, so I guess I can go ahead and delete the views. Okay. Also, under controllers, I just need the API controller. I don't really need the setup or report controller. There are some methods here that it does post, but we have actually moved it into the API as well in the next release. So for now, I'll leave this. Okay. Okay, so let me build it. Okay, this is running now. Okay, now I will go ahead and create a new project. Create a new project. I'll use the same template. I'm going to call this .NET Report Frontend. Okay. Here's my new project. Okay, I'll do the same thing. Get packages and install .NET Report. Okay, in this one I want just the front end stuff. Okay, so first, of course, I'll do the same thing. Okay, but for this one, I do want the front end stuff, so I'm gonna go ahead and rename this file. Rename this package. First, I'm gonna restore NuGet packages. Okay, so npm is done. Next, we go to Task.Explorer, Explorer, run the scripts. Okay, so our front end is ready. Okay, now in here, we're not going to use the controller. We're not going to use any of this. I guess we will use just the report print we use. We are not going to use any of this, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Okay. And then we're not going to use the controller file as well, or the setup controller, any of that. Sorry, the setup controller is just a page also, so we will use that, sorry. But the jobs and all of that stuff we're not going to use. But let me go ahead and build it. Okay, let me see if I can exclude this for now and build it again. Okay, So there was something that it was using from in here. So let me go ahead and bring it back for now. It's basically this class that's in there. Not sure why it's in there, but we can definitely move it to the .NET Report model class file. Just put it in here. Okay, and this time if I exclude it. Okay, great. So now this is obviously I started it as a new project, but in real life examples, this would be a front-end application where you just install the NuGet package and you keep these files. And then this would be your backend API project, and you can remove the views and stuff and just keep this file. So it can be added easily to any existing project as well. Okay, so next what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a breakpoint in here, because this is what is going to get called when .NET Report runs. Okay, so I'm going to put a breakpoint in this call API method, because this is where really everything happens. This is the main wrapper where all the front-end calls come through. Okay. Oh, also I'm going to go ahead and add some settings here for .NET Report. So I'm going to add the connection string. And okay, one thing that we do need is to enable cores into the application, but we'll get to that step. Let me go ahead and fill these out with real values. Okay, I've added the API keys to both projects. Okay, so now this is my .NET Report Backend API URL. Okay, what I'll do is that in the front end, if I go to the index page, now I'm just going to hard code it for now, but for real world, obviously you can put it in a config file or somewhere where you can get this value from. So what I'm going to do is change this, say backend URL is equal to this, right? And all these wrapper methods, the way it works is that it gives you it builds the URL from the current project. But what we need to do is all these URLs that we're building for the .NET Report API needs to be from the host URL. Okay, so we'll change it. Okay, so actually I'll use the same variable name base service URL here, just as an example, and then this URL here becomes something like base service URL plus .NET Report API / get users enable. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on the others. I basically have the code written already, so I'm going to go ahead and copy paste the whole thing here. Okay, and now basically it would try to go and call the servers here. Okay, now let me go ahead and run the front end as well. Okay, now here's my front end. Now the first thing I'll do is I'll try to go and load the page, but I'm pretty sure it will fail because of cores. Let's see what happens. And let me get the inspector going here too, so we can see what it's calling. But yeah, but what I expect is it would call the backend project. Okay, great. Okay, so see, it was trying to call the first thing obviously is the cores error. Okay, so let's go ahead and fix this. Okay, so I'm going to go to the backend project. Okay, go to program.css. Okay, and then basically to allow cores, I would go ahead and after this I will add cores. Okay, and then after use routing I will also add use cores. Okay, and let me go ahead and restart the app just in case. Okay, And another thing I noticed is that the URL it was trying to call is missing the API route. I think it does need it, because if I look at the controller here, it is route API slash. Okay. So what I do is come back here. This is the backend. This is the front end, and change this to API. Okay. Now let me go back to the browser and let's try to refresh this page. Okay. Okay, perfect. I actually hit, this is the backend project, and it hit the API controller, the breakpoint, exactly how we expected. It will come in here, it has all the methods and call. I'm going to go ahead and let it go. But yeah, see, so the .NET report is running, and you can see if you go to the network, instead of calling API methods to the local service, it actually called it to the second project, which is just the configuration one, right? So now this is just going to have front-end code, nothing back-end, and everything else for the back-end service will just stay here. So another thing on the same topic is, obviously this is a dummy or startup project. It does not have authorization, right? So you definitely want to add authorization here to make sure that unauthorized calls are not accepted. You definitely want to connect your current users and roles here. Okay, the authorization mechanism, whatever your current application is using, it will use the same thing. And generally what it is that it passes a token from the front end to the back end, right? So to add that, if I go back to the front end project, there is a wrapper method in .NET Report helper file, okay? And it's already wired to send, like the code is already there to send authorization. Okay, so the token that you build to pass to your other API calls, you can use the exact same token here and it will work because it's going to call the same application. By default, what .NET Report does is it looks for the token key name this in local storage. So you can save that in the other application, or you can come here and change the token key name to whatever is saved it as, or modify this code. Make sure you get changes, and you make sure you always check in your changes into Git before doing these kind of things. But you can easily come here and set up your app's authorization here, and then it will work in the backend also. Okay, so hopefully this will give you an idea of how to separate the front-end back-end projects.